In the first 3 days of July 1863, Union and Confederate forces clashed at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Over 165,000 soldiers fought there, making it the largest battle in the Civil War and the largest battle in any war fought on American soil. About 51,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing, making Gettysburg the bloodiest battle of the war, worse than Shiloh or Antietam. In terms of total American casualties, it remains the bloodiest battle in all of American history. The stakes at Gettysburg were exceptionally high. Robert E. Lee needed a military victory north of the Mason-Dixon line. A win at Gettysburg would open up a path southward to Washington, D.C. Other cities would either be threatened or at least besieged with unrest. Such an impact could well provide Lee with the ability to force a negotiated end to the war. The small farming community of Gettysburg served as a juncture for several important roads, a main reason why the two armies collided there. 94,000 Union forces were led by George G. Meade. Robert E. Lee led 72,000 Confederate rebels. On the first day of July, the first major encounter of the battle occurred on McPherson Ridge. Union cavalry under John Buford battled the advancing Confederate infantry led by Henry Heth. Buford held the high ground and delayed the Confederates until Union infantry arrived under the command of John F. Reynolds. Reynolds positioned his infantry in the woods. As he led his men, a Confederate bullet struck him in the neck, killing him instantly. Confederate forces gradually pushed Union troops back. By afternoon, they had forced the Northerners to retreat through Gettysburg and to the south of town. Though the day belonged to the Confederates, Buford's stand north of town had bought crucial time. Most importantly, it allowed the North to occupy strong defensive positions on the high ground, Cemetery Hill, Cemetery Ridge, and Little Round Top. On July 2nd, clashes occurred at 6 locations, most famously on the rocky hill of Little Round Top. Little Round Top held the strategic key to the battle. It was the center of the Union flank. If the rebels captured it, they could get behind the Union line. Its high ground afforded maximal visibility and a superior position for artillery and for defending against attackers. At one critical point, the North left Little Round Top undefended. Colonel Strong Vincent ran his brigade to the hill. Among his men were Joshua Chamberlain and the 20th Maine. Other regiments hailed from Michigan, New York, and Pennsylvania. 2 regiments from Texas powered up the slopes. The Federal line had nearly collapsed when Colonel Patrick O'Rourke led the 140th New York Regiment in a successful counterattack. Vincent and O'Rourke were both killed that day. Under heavy assault by regiments from Alabama, the extreme left flank of the line, formed by Chamberlain and his men, began to give. The men took courage from Andrew Tozier, the young sergeant who stood firm and held straight the regimental colors. Chamberlain ordered the 20th Maine to attach their bayonets and charge downhill. The decision paid off as the Union forces held Little Round Top. On day 3, Lee ordered James Longstreet to make a massive assault on the Union center. The attack would span 3/4 of a mile. Longstreet warned, there was never a body of 15,000 men who could make that attack successfully. Lee persisted. The assault took shape under Major General George Pickett. He led what came to be known as Pickett's Charge. The Confederates marched from the woods of Seminary Ridge toward the Union line at Cemetery Ridge. Union artillery and infantry gunfire blasted the enemy advance. Only a fraction of the Confederates managed to breach the Union line. 14,000 Confederates participated in Pickett's charge. 6,500 became casualties, including General Lewis A. Armistead, a Virginian, who was mortally wounded by Northern gunfire. The failed Pickett's charge signaled Confederate defeat. The loss at Gettysburg marked the end of Lee's invasion. The Confederates would not launch another major campaign deep into Northern territory. Any hope of forcing a negotiated end of the war had vanished on the grounds at Gettysburg. As the rebels limped back toward the Potomac with wagon loads of wounded soldiers, Lee and his army were vulnerable. General Meade, however, and much to President Lincoln's dismay, pursued them too slowly, and so the Confederates returned to Virginia. Over the days that followed, and as news of the battle spread, the Union victory strengthened Northern confidence and support for the war. 4 months later, on November 19, 1863, President Lincoln dedicated part of the battlefield as the site of the Soldiers' National Cemetery. On that occasion, he delivered his Gettysburg Address, just 272 words and the most beloved speech in American history. The president humbly noted that the living cannot consecrate the ground already hallowed by the fallen, but Lincoln also pointed to the ultimate meaning of the sacrifices made, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.